So the Euporia got massively buffed in Elden Ring. It's now one of the better weapons. If you don't know what changed or what's special about the weapon, basically it used to do 6 light attacks, and then it would apply a buff to the weapon that would make the Ash of War do a little projectile attack. But now it is 3 light attacks or 1 heavy attack, heavy charged attack. You can do this twice, so it will buff the weapon twice. The first time it will add 100 holy damage, and then the second buff it will add 50. Now you need to do the second buff while you had the first buff going on, so you can't just do it twice after it ends. The damage is absolutely insane when using the right buffs and right talismans. Its Ash of War will completely shred bosses like Radahn when charged up. Now to move on to the talismans, we are using the Roddenwing Sword Insignia, Millicent's Prosthesis, Shard of Alexander, and the Two-Handed Sword Talisman. The Two-Handed Sword Talisman, it's not mandatory. You can swap it out for anything else that you want. But since it is a twin blade, the multi-hit talismans will proc super easily with them because of their movesets. For the stats for this build, we're going to want to go into All Faith after meeting the requirements for Strength and Dexterity. And if you meet 80, if you're like a hell of a build on Faith, then you can go into Strength and Dexterity. They do scale equally with this weapon, so it doesn't really matter where you put them into. You're going to want to keep a decently high mind because this weapon does use a lot of FP along with the buffs that we're going to use. Now for the buffs, we're using Golden Vow with the Erdtree Seal. We are also going to be using the Sword of Light, which when using the Ash of War, it buffs every single holy tech by 20% for the next 60 seconds. For the armor, we're using Rakshasa set, which boosts our damage from each piece. It doesn't give much durability, but since we're already getting like 2 to 3 shotted, it doesn't really matter. After testing this out on some bosses, I can conclude that this is busted. Not like Blasphemous Blade busted, but still really good. The Ash of War is definitely where it shines. It will literally shred bosses, like it'll take off like a quarter of their health bar. Another difference between the first buff and the second buff is that the second buff will last like 3 times longer, and you can also direct it, unlike like Comet Azure, which you can't direct it, so it just is stationary. The Ash of War gives no hyper armor, so it is a little bit hard to pull off, but if you do, it is very worth it. This is now by far the best twin blade in the game, way better than Eleonora or whatever else there is. Something that I might change for the future is swapping out the Two-Handed Sword Talisman for a talisman that boosts charged attacks, because we're going to be doing a lot of those in this build. So again, landing the charged heavies are definitely a lot easier than the 3 light attacks. It's quicker, and I think it does give you some sort of benefit. The gameplay loop is literally just going to be bait out a long attack, and then get a charged heavy, and then when you're at range or something, then use the Ash of War. And it's super effective. It would literally decimate bosses. So I just want to really quickly show the damage for the normal Ash of War, the first buff, and then the second buff. This is the first buff. Now the second buff is active. And yeah. So final thoughts on the Euporia build. Like I said before, it is insane. Before this weapon got buffed, it was like not that good. You wouldn't really hear of many people using it. Like I said before, where it shines is Ash of War and its ability to buff it each time. I don't know if any other weapons do this. I could be wrong, but I don't think that they do. And I'm talking about the ability to buff it by using some attacks. So anyways, if I were to put this on a tier list and compare it to the other builds that I've done, which you should definitely go check out, I'd put it at the very top of the list. This is probably a top 10 weapon in the DLC. Not in the main game, but in the DLC for sure. If you enjoyed, please leave a comment down below suggesting any builds. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. Anyways, have a good day. Bye.